Did you know the characters in Bleach have theme songs? How about knowing the original title of the manga? I'll detail 15 unbelievable facts that will change the way you look at Ichigo and the world of Bleach forever. Let's go on an unforgettable adventure through Tite Kubo's fabulous creation and explore the fascinating depths of this amazing series. Let's start with Rukia, one of my favorite Soul Reapers. Rukia was actually the very first character that Tite Kubo created, and there's good reason why. Kubo intended her to be the lead protagonist of the story, and that's not even the most surprising part of Kubo's creation process. Even more surprising is the fact that Rukia was first originally designed to look like a fairy, and she was also going to wield a scythe instead of a sword. Also, the title at this point wasn't Bleach, but Snipe. However, as he fleshed out her character, he realized that both her look and her role in the story weren't quite right. So he went back to the drawing board and came up with Ichigo, the spiky-haired hero we all know and love. And Rukia ended up being the perfect fit for the female lead. I can only imagine where the story of Rukia the scythe-wielding fairy might have taken us. I bet it would have been amazing. It's no secret that anime adaptations get modified from the manga, and Bleach is no exception. The anime is full of scenes and story arcs that were tinkered with from the source material. Heck, sometimes an arc would ghost us halfway through, and not even finish. What gives, guys? One of the coolest adaptations happened during the Hueco Mundo arc, where we see an unexpected Shinigami, Ashido Kano, show up to help Rukia after she gets separated from the rest of the group. And get this, he never even shows up in the manga. He's not just filler though. Kubo had always wanted to include him in his story, but he was never able to make it happen the right way in the manga, so he decided to make his desire a reality by sneaking the Shinigami into the anime. I for one am glad he got Ashido in the anime. His character design is pretty epic. Someone asked Kubo what he thinks Ichigo's weakness is, and you know what he said? He said Ichigo's weakness, as well as his strength, is his big heart. He's always looking out for others, which is awesome and all, but it also gets him into trouble regularly. Like, dude, maybe don't charge headfirst into battle when you know you're outnumbered. Just a thought. But seriously, you have to respect Ichigo for always putting others first, even if it means putting himself in harm's way. And besides, what's the alternative? Being a selfish jerk who only thinks about himself? Tite Kubo is a naming genius. He put some serious thought into not only his manga titles, but also the names of his characters. For instance, did you know that Yoruichi almost ended up being called Kuroneko? That means black cat in Japanese, which seems a pretty fitting name for her if you ask me. But Kubo thought it may cause public conflict, so he changed it up. Interestingly, black cats in Japanese culture are usually a sign of good luck, wealth, and prosperity. Ichigo's name is interesting as well, as it consists of Ichi, which means one, and Go, which means guardian, making him the one guardian for all. Kubo puts different language references to the characters of Bleach. He could have just stuck with Japanese and called it a day, but where's the fun in that? For the Arrancar, he used Spanish, which seemed to match their wild personalities. And for the Quincy's, it's German, as they are very methodic, straightforward, and rule-following. In an interview, he said he would have liked to add some French into the mix too, but he wasn't able to find a proper way to include it. Surprisingly, Ichigo hasn't killed many characters throughout the story. He's a nice guy and all, but he also doesn't have any issues with getting messy and doing damage. Still, he's only officially taken down one person in the whole story, and that's Kugo Ginjo, the previous substitute Shinigami, and antagonist of the Fullbringer arc. Now, you might be thinking, what about Okiura? And yeah, you may have some basis there, but there's some debate over whether it counts as an official kill for Ichigo, since he doesn't remember doing it, as it was his Vasto Lorde incarnation that deals the damage. When it comes to the Wandenreich, there's no mistaking their German roots. These guys are all Quincy, which means everything from their language to their culture is based on Germany. But here's the thing, the Sternritter, the elite soldiers of Wandenreich, are based on more than just traditional Quincy heritage. They're also heavily inspired by the German and Weimar empires of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and even Hitler's dictatorship. Just look at how utterly devoted the Steinritter are to their leader, you watch. It's reminiscent of the Nazis' worship of their Führer. And the Soldat, the regular soldiers of the Wandenreich, are likely meant to represent the Wehrmacht. It's pretty clear that Kubo drew much inspiration from Germany's history and culture when crafting the Wandenreich's backstory and characters. Know where the name Bleach came from? The common belief is that the name refers to the color white, with bleach being something that whitens, which provides a stark contrast to the black garments of the Shinigami. Even more interesting to me though, is the portion of fans that have another take on the meaning. According to this theory, bleach is a verb. And not just any verb. but the release command for Ichigo Zanpakuto Zangetsu, as the release word for Zanpakuto is still unknown. Of course, this theory is just speculation, and there's no concrete evidence to support it. But it's an interesting idea nonetheless, and it shows just how much the fans love to dig deep into the details of their favorite series. For some reason, the anime wanted to rush its way to Soul Society, so a lot of the chapters from the manga that occurred before Ichigo's first trip to the Soul Society got skipped. The problem with this is that when an anime skips a huge chunk of the manga, it's going to run out of its source material. And you know what that means: fillers, fillers, and more fillers. Everyone's favorite. The anime is 45% filler episodes, which means that almost half of the story isn't canon. That doesn't mean, however, that those filler episodes aren't entertaining. This is assuming you watch the filler episodes, instead of skipping right over them as most people do. Did you know that there's a special meaning behind Chad's tattoo? His tattoo is a key aspect of his character, as it represents his beliefs about the balance between love and death, and his willingness to protect those he cares about, even at the cost of his own life. The snake in the design is often associated with rebirth and renewal, adding to the symbolism of the tattoo. Have you noticed that Bleach doesn't bother with fancy, detailed backgrounds? It's not because Kubo can't draw them, it's because he wanted all the focus on the characters. He strips it down to just the essentials, and lets his characters stand out. In a more practical sense, it probably also helped him complete new chapters of the manga at a much quicker pace than if he spent the extra time putting in a detailed background. Smart move on Kubo's part. Music is a major standout in Bleach. Did you know that there are over 15 opening theme songs? Music was also very influential to Kubo while he was creating the manga, and he has theme songs for each of the characters. Some examples of these are News from the Front by Bad Religion for Ichigo, and Idiotech by Radiohead for Uryu. Meanwhile, Aizen has 2 songs, Stand Ablaze by In Flames and Allegro non troppo, the 4th movement of Symphony No. 5 in D minor by the composer Dmitri Shostakovich. Not all the songs are by Western composers though, as Yoruichi's theme song is Kumochi no Hate by Coco. It's too bad these songs weren't used like a wrestler's march to the ring to signal a new fight. That would have been amazing. Back in the early days of Bleach, Tite Kubo's art style wasn't exactly consistent, but when the anime adaptation came around, he took a cue from character designer Masashi Kudo and started to refine his style. Kubo admitted that he used to draw the characters with a bunch of hair behind their ears, but Kudo's work made him realize that this wasn't the most realistic approach, so he decided to change things up and follow Kudo's lead. And hey, we can't blame Kubo for taking some inspiration, as it helped him to create a more consistent look to his characters instead of the haphazard style he started with. In an interview, Tite Kubo revealed what inspired him to create the quirky stuffed animal with the modified soul, Kon. According to Kubo, he wanted to create something that looked fake, like it was just a bunch of random things thrown together. And boy, did he succeed. As for Kon's backstory, Kubo explained that he came up with it on the fly. Basically, a kid at a festival wanted a fancy stuffed animal, but his parents wouldn't buy it and got him a cheaper one. So the kid threw a big tantrum and chucked it on the street. When it comes to manga artists, it's no secret that Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, is a big inspiration for many. But for Tite Kubo, Toriyama's influence goes beyond just being a source of inspiration. When Kubo first submitted Bleach to Weekly Shonen Jump, it was unfortunately rejected. However, Toriyama himself was impressed by Kubo's work and reached out to him to encourage him to keep at it. This not only lifted Kubo's spirits, but it also had a material impact. Toriyama's support for the series led to Shonen Jump changing their minds and deciding to publish Bleach after all. I mean, who wouldn't want to have a legend like Toriyama in their corner? And it just goes to show that sometimes, all it takes is one person believing in you to make a huge difference. Bleach is not your run-of-the-mill story. There's way more depth to it than we initially thought, and what I've uncovered so far is just the beginning. There are a ton more hidden facts and Easter eggs tucked away, just waiting to be uncovered.